This is Dispatches from Dystopia Podcast, Candlelight Edition. This is an important dispatch, y'all, and excitedly, it's the first video that I've been able to produce for a while, several months, because my hard drive crashed, making it impossible for me to edit videos. And so I bought myself a new hard drive for Christmas, and here we are. So this is big stuff. As y'all may know, I am a rather slow writer. I think I'm a good writer. I love to write, but it's slow going. And slow is just not going to cut it this year. It's 2024. Things are picking up pace. I don't know if you've noticed, but I feel acceleration all around. I do think that it's happening, and I think there's an acceleration occurring culturally, globally, some kind of a shift, a spiritual shift perhaps. But that's really what happens when you have all these crises. When you have a lot of crises produce revelations, epiphanies for people, and sometimes individually and sometimes collectively, and revelations supercharge growth. That's how this works. So you might not be able to see the growth yet in a lot of places and a lot of world events or a lot of people, because it's happening beneath the surface. You know, it hasn't sprouted out of the ground yet. And at the same time, we seem to be, many of us, both individually and collectively, at a choice point. We're all trying to figure out, what do we want our future to look like? We're deliberating in some way about that right now. So we're at this point, I think of it like a slow motion coin flip, like in a movie where the guy flips the coin and it's like slowly turning through the air, and one side is crisis, fire, war, destruction, just utter destruction, end of the world, right? And then it goes woof, and then the other side is hope, growth, epiphany, beauty, harmony. And you can be on either side of the coin. You can, whatever side you like, you can focus in on, or whatever side feels most comfortable and aligned with where you're at right now. Of course, I think most people want to be on the side of hope and growth and all the good stuff, but it can be hard to stay there. But just be aware that it's flipping through space like really fast. The slowed down is just something I made up. It's not really slowed down at all. That was just to help us visualize what was going on. And it's going to land. I think it's going to land sooner than we imagine, on the back of the cosmic hand. So heads or tails, we'll see. So anyway, why the candles? Well, partly because the daylight hours are scarce at the moment, and I don't have any fancy lighting for making videos. I just have a cell phone and a laptop and some lamps. And usually if I record a video, I just sit opposite a window and record it during like midday. But I keep running out of daylight. I've been trying to record this video every day for like a week. Then I realized, I'm probably being nudged here. This is a candlelight. This is a darkness video. One that'd be better to do by candlelight. So it's not fancy professional lighting, but it is thematically appropriate. So I don't know if you've noticed, but there seems to be a bit of a dystopia going on out there in the world. To a lot of people, it might seem like we're heading straight for catastrophe. I know it seemed that way to me for several years. And different groups, kind of different ideologies, see different types of catastrophe heading our way. So you have climate change, and then there's the other kind of climate change, by which I mean an ice age, and then there's like nuclear war and global technocracy. So there's all these different flavors of like what catastrophe could be in like our impending doom looming just around the corner. But so there's lots of flavors of end times prophecy. In the modern age, end times prophecy may look a little different than it did in previous ages, but these end times frenzies come around every so often, you know, like if you think back to the period of the Black Death, which a lot of people think was just a few decades or so, but it was actually a few hundred years. It kept coming and going throughout Europe, and there was a lot of end time stuff going on that was really popular to like, I mean, not even just to think that the end of the world was coming, but that you were living in it. And that makes sense. I mean, if like, let's say half of your village died over the past 2 weeks and there's no one left to bury the bodies, yeah, you could be forgiven for thinking it's the end of the world. The end times frenzies come around, they're concentrated usually in a specific geographic area or and with like a specific religious bent. But right now it seems like it's just worldwide. Like everybody's got this feeling, and maybe because we're so interconnected with the internet and being so easy to, hop on a plane and travel from one place to another, the world really is getting smaller as the population grows exponentially. But it feels like it's the end times frenzy is kind of worldwide at the moment. And so that's, something a lot of people have got on their minds right now. And I understand that. I have compassion for that because I was definitely there. It was scary. I don't want to say I was ever really like terrified of what was going to happen, but I did speculate a lot about it. And now I feel more like it, yeah, I know some stuff's going to happen, but I feel like it's leading, crisis leads to growth. That's what I've learned. So I want to share this Hopi myth with you guys. This is related to the candles. It's all related. In Hopi myth, there's not just one creation of the earth or one destruction of it. There's the initial creation in which all things and beings are made, and then there's a series of like destructions and then recreations of the earth and emergences of the Hopi people. So the initial creation goes bad due to the error of man, sin, forgetting the spirit, getting engrossed and immersed in all the material nonsense, and just a few people still remember their spirit and purpose. And so these few are led to a hiding place, which is either an anthill or reeds that they individually climb into, or something like that. They're led to a hiding place to wait out the destruction and recreation of the earth. And then once the fire's cooled down, or the ice is melted, or the floodwaters have receded, or whatever, they are led back out of the hiding place to the newly created earth. And this is their new home. And this figure called Sotuknong, and I'm probably totally butchering that pronunciation, but Sotuknong, he's like a guide figure, kind of patron saint, but also quasi-creator, god-ish person in Hopi myth. But he reminds them to keep their hearts pure and the doors at the top of their heads open, and to keep singing joyfully from the hilltops, and that when he can no longer hear their joyous songs of praise and gratitude, then he'll know that the world has lost its way again, and another destruction will be soon to follow. And so each time the people reemerge into a new world, they reproduce and populate the world, and over time, many people forget the instructions about keeping their hearts pure and whatnot. Their hearts become split. They call people with split hearts, they call them two hearts. Their hearts are no longer pure. The doors in the top of their heads fuse shut, and they forget to sing joyfully from the hilltops. And so I can relate to this because it did happen to me. I used to sing constantly when I was a kid. I memorized like entire musicals. I sang in church, I sang in the halls between classes at school, I sang at school talent shows. As a teenager, I had an hour drive to school and back home from school, and I would just pop in my mixtape and sing the whole way. And sometimes I wrote songs and sang them too. And when my daughter was born, I sang to her all the time, rocking her in the rocking chair, and I would sing Sade and Pink Floyd and old Irish lullabies. I had a pretty wide repertoire. But at some point later on, gradually I started to sing less and less, and at some point, things got really stressful, and my life felt so tense and sad and heavy, and the problems felt so impossible to move, to budge, and the circumstances kind of so destructive and draining to my vitality and banishing to my joy. And although I tried to keep a positive attitude through all of this, and a lot of time I succeeded, but it was more like a facade, I guess. I was trying to put on a positive attitude instead of actually drawing out a positive attitude from within me, And so I don't really think that I knew that I had forgotten to sing. If that makes sense, It's only looking back that I see this is a clear sign that something was wrong. You'd lost your way. The clear sign was you weren't singing. So I don't know if anybody else has ever had that experience, but it's like life just sucked the song out of you. So I imagine that this is what the Hopi people, or the people in the Hopi myth, felt, many generations after their ancestors had emerged from the anthill and been reminded to keep their pure heart and the door at the top of their head open, and to not forget to sing joyously from the hilltops. Those people on a course of destruction, they don't realize they're on the course of destruction, that they don't realize their hearts are split in two. They don't realize that the doors at the tops of their heads are fused shut, and they don't know that they've forgotten to sing. Everything just feels heavy. That's how they feel. That's what I think. And so one of the most interesting things about the emergence myths is that with each recreation and subsequent emergence, the level gets harder, like in a video game. There's less abundance, it's less beauty, there's more wickedness in the world, and so it's harder to remember the guidance, Sotuknang's guidance. But also, each time destruction, comes closer, each time they're nearing the end times, the people who have succeeded in remembering draw others into their ranks, and these people follow them to the new hiding place to wait out the next destruction and recreation. And these people that follow them, they don't remember themselves, they don't remember the guidance, they don't remember their spirit and purpose, but they trust what the rememberers tell them, and they begin to change their hearts and their minds and their ways in response. And so that way, it's like the rememberers grow in number with each subsequent recreation. And so I want to pause for a minute and just invite everyone listening to kind of imagine this. First, like, imagine being one of the rememberers. You're in a world that has lost its way. That might seem familiar. It's cloaked in darkness. The song you carry in your heart has to be protected from violence, from evil, from degeneracy, and a lot of what you're surrounded with on a daily basis is tinged like gray. It's just hopelessness. It's tinged gray with hopelessness. But you have to you find the power and the inspiration to fill your lungs and sing anyway. And then you can also try imagining being one of the forgetters in the myth who see this crazy guy or this crazy lady like singing praises and gratitude at the top of their lungs. This like bright-faced, flickering bit of hope in the midst of all this darkness. And you might even not quite, like, you might not even know that you're in darkness. A lot of times you don't realize how dark it is until you look back and see. But, you know, that's what crises are for. But you might not know what to make of it. Your life feels lacking in this vague way, but you're not quite sure what the cause of that is. You have plenty of things to blame it on external to yourself, but really there's no deep inner knowing of, you know, how to fix it, how to resolve it. It just seems like everyone's life is off track or out of balance in some way, and it's like it's just an atmosphere of futility for these people, these forgetters, you know. It's the air you breathe, the futility, going in and out of your lungs all the time. So, you know, even though, yeah, to be sure, there's pleasure available, gleeful, empty pleasure that drains away the life force and splits the heart into and fuses the door at the top of the head. But there's little real joy. There is little real love. And so many are headed toward that path of destruction, the destruction of the earth. They're martyrs for the teaching of the world, as Tolstoy would have said. And then there's this one person just singing his or her little heart out from the top of the hill like an absolute fucking loon, claiming to know some other better way, and something in you says, trust it. And you follow these people to some godforsaken anthill. Imagine. Well, that's all steeped in metaphor and imagery and symbolism and whatnot, but that is kind of how it happened for me. I didn't remember on my own. It didn't come to me like that when I forgot to sing, when I forgot about singing, when the song got sucked out of me. I suspected that I had lost my way, and I kind of prayed and hoped for answers, and then I got them in the form of a chance encounter, which led me to a website. Like, it led me to a rabbit hole, let's just say. And I was shown a path, which I plunged gratefully onto and into, which showed me exactly how my heart was split, and how the door at the top of my head had fused shut. Or not completely shut, but, you know, the hinges definitely needed a very good oiling, let's just say. And I'm still using language from the Hopi myth to describe how this felt for me, and what I discovered about myself. But it's both as simple as that and way more complex. And what I'm talking about, actually, I'll just go ahead and give it to you in case anybody else wants to see what it's all about. It's called The Pathwork. It's just a series of lectures to which I owe so much of the peace and joy I experience in my life now. I would call it in the realm of psychology, like where psychology meets spirituality. It just helps you do some really courageous self-analysis. And I highly recommend it. And you can find the lectures online at pathwork.org. Okay, so there's another story I want to share with you, which is also about singing. This one takes place in Soviet Russia, and I'm told it's a true story, but I don't know for sure. A man in Soviet Russia wants to teach his children the Christian faith he was brought up in, and the government has unfortunately by this point shut down all of the churches, and nearly all of the ministers have been imprisoned or executed, except for the ones that are on the Soviet payroll, the priests that work for the state churches, who probably, definitely teach a Soviet doctrine. And the nearest place to worship is a long journey, like days away from the man's house, which is out in the countryside. So or a village, in a rural village. And so he and his wife start reading scripture to the kids one night a week, and in their sitting room, and they pray together and sing the hymns they remember from church when they were kids. And the kids enjoy it, and then the neighbors overhear the music and want to join in. So eventually they've got a meeting going one night a week, and it grows, and of course it attracts the attention of the authorities, who eventually come and burst into the place while the meeting is going on and arrest this man on charges of operating an unlicensed church, which is a very big, serious crime in Soviet Russia. So he is sentenced to 17 years in prison, and the prison is filled with hardened criminals, but probably, I'm told, the way I was told, it was all hardened criminals, but it's Soviet Russia, there's probably writers in there, who knows, maybe Solzhenitsyn was in there with him, I don't know. Anyway, so this man keeps his faith strong in the prison by keeping up a discipline of singing. So he's done this apparently ever since he was a boy, but he wakes up at dawn and stands up and faces the rising sun and sings a hymn. I don't know what the hymn is, but he sings it loudly, and he sings it, with great vitality. And the other prisoners don't like it. They find this quite annoying. So they, insult him and make fun of him and curse him and shout over him and throw things at him. And actually, when you're living in a Soviet Russian prison cell and you don't really have any possessions, you have to get kind of creative to come up with things to throw at a guy across the way. So apparently one of the things they threw was their feces. That's probably one of the only things you can, because what are you going to do? Throw your shirt? You need that. But anyway, still, the man keeps singing his song every morning, regardless of the abuse that he is getting for doing so. And sometimes the guards beat him, or he's pulled out of his cell for interrogations, and they pressure him to sign a paper that says that he's a spy, that his little house church was just a front for distributing American propaganda. And if he signs this paper, they'll let him free. He refuses again and again, and then one day they tell him that his wife has been killed and his children have been taken into state custody. And that breaks him. He says he'll sign the paper in the morning so that he can go find his family and make sure they're okay. But that night in prayer, he senses that his wife and children are still alive. I don't know, the Holy Spirit told him or whatever. but he senses or actually hears them in his prayers, their voices assuring him that they're still around, and and that they're praying for him. And so the next morning, the guards come to his cell with a paper to sign, and he refuses. So they force him out of his cell, and they're threatening to kill him if he doesn't sign the paper, and they're dragging him down the hall between the prison cells. And all of a sudden, or one by one, the men in their cells begin to sing his morning song of praise. And eventually the song just echoes throughout the building. There's hundreds of prisoners joining in, and so because the guards fear a rebellion is about to pop off, they return this house church minister to his cell, and eventually he's released and reunited with his family. So I don't know if that's a true story or not, but I heard it, or it was told to me, and it's a powerful story. And then what it also reminded me of was the Hopi myth that I just shared with you. So that's how my mind works. Also, recently I remembered singing. I remembered how much I used to love it and how much I really missed it. And then I was told this story, and I thought about the Hopi myth, and I decided that I would like to have a song that I sing every morning too, to keep my heart pure and the door at the top of my head open. And so I selected one, and it's my theme song for 2024. And so far I've sung it at 8:30 a.m. every morning since New Year's Day. And I know that's not sunrise like the Russian guy, but we are improvising and doing the best we can. So the song I selected is a hymn, and some of you may have heard it. It's not a very old hymn. It's called Canticle of the Turning, or the first line, "My soul cries out with a joyful shout." And it was only written in 1990, so it's pretty fresh. But to me, it's perfect for this period of acceleration, this coin flip moment that we're living through, with all the crises and the revelations and all the untold growth happening beneath the surface of the soil. And so I love the first stanza of it. "My soul cries out with a joyful shout that the God of my heart is great, and my spirit sings of the wondrous things that he brings to the ones who wait. You fixed your sight on your servant's plight, and my weakness you did not spurn. So from east to west shall my name be blessed, could the world be about to turn." And it keeps repeating this, could the world be about to turn, the world is about to turn, line at the end of every stanza. And it's really rousing. I can't explain it. It's the whole song is layered with meaning upon meaning, and maybe sometime I'll do a little analysis video about the lyrics. But what I love about this hymn is that it keeps me focused on the evolution that's taking place. You know, the flickering hope, both in me and in the world around me. And instead of the sorrow that I've left behind, or the darkness that's playing itself out on the world stage. So singing this hymn every morning keeps me on the bright side of the coin flip. And if you would like to join me in singing each morning, I would gladly welcome the virtual company. I sing at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, United States. And if you don't like this song, you can pick your own, although I think it would be cool for a bunch of people to sing the same song at the same time all around the country or the globe. And I think it would just be a wonderful way to connect energetically, and to let Sotuk Nang or whoever's listening know that we remember. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn.